evening, it's 8 o'clock. I'm Sally Burdett, live from Johannesburg. Your top stories this evening.
The wind and rain have picked up, and it's only the start of it, with a series of cold fronts moving through the Western Cape over the next 24 hours. Find out how you'll be affected.
We've decided to increase the threshold from 350,000 Rand to an annual earnings of 500,000 Rand.
Taxpayers who earn less than 500,000 Rand a year no longer have to submit tax returns. And the City of Cape Town approves the release of vacant land for medical cannabis production. Brace yourselves, Cape Town. You're in for a very cold and stormy night. The first major cold front to bring in winter rains has hit the mother city. Flooding is expected over parts of the Western Cape tonight, as eNews climatologist Candice McKechnie explains.
A large and slow-moving cold front moved into Cape Town at around 2 o'clock on Tuesday. Now that's going to bring in large amounts of rainfall, heavy rain in the forecast, especially for the southern winelands, the Cape Metropole and the Overberg, not only into Tuesday night but also into Wednesday. It's then reinforced by a secondary front which moves in on Tuesday night, and that brings with it very windy conditions with damaging winds possible as well. And we'll see those gale force winds spreading all the way through to the southern and southeastern coastline into Wednesday and even Thursday. High seas associated with this particular frontal system, and of course with that amount of rainfall we're also expecting flooding, especially in low-lying areas, affecting communities that don't necessarily have the infrastructure that other communities do, and the drainage systems to keep that water away, and we'll see a lot of flooding associated with that.
Of course, we'll hear more about our weather prospects a little bit later in the bulletin. If you earn less than 500,000 Rand a year, you might no longer have the hassle of filing a tax return. SARS has announced it's increased the threshold from 350,000 Rand to 500,000 Rand. During a briefing, the Revenue Collectors Commissioner Edward Kiswetter also explained how he wants to lift the spirits of troubled staff. Our business reporter Heidi Jokas was there.
If you want to take advantage of the new tax provision, you must meet certain criteria. You cannot earn more than 500,000 Rand a year. You're also only allowed to receive income from one employer and can't receive any other form of income like car allowances, business income, rental income, or taxable interest. But if you don't file, you can't claim any deductibles like medical aid, and don't even think of trying to cheat the system.
We also would like to warn taxpayers and tax preparers that making false declarations is fraud and have serious consequences.
The new commissioner says it's also vital to focus on the well-being of staff.
I have found that many of our staff have lost trust in the leadership. Many of them have a broken spirit. We have unfortunately created a culture of fear and intimidation, and racial tension is sadly high in the organization.
The commissioner wouldn't speak on who's currently avoiding taxes and whether the revenue collector will focus on going after Busasa, but he's promising no one will escape SARS's clutches. Tax season officially opens on the 1st of August. Heidi Jokas in Pretoria.
ANC Secretary-General Ace Magashule has refuted reports of plans to disband the ANC Integrity Commission. He was speaking today during a media briefing at Luthuli House after a 3-day ANC NEC Lekgotla. His comments come after some media reports suggested there was a move to disband the commission after calls for senior members cited in the report to decline public office.
Why do you disband it? Because it doesn't agree with you? It has been there. We set it up. Your media were pushing us to establish an integrity commission. It has been established. It will be unethical and wrong to disband it. That's my view. That integrity commission, there's never been any position, any view by the National Executive Committee to disband an integrity commission. So it is still there.
Cape Town could be the first place in South Africa to legally grow cannabis for medical use. The city has partnered with a Canadian pharmaceutical corporation for this new venture, and it aims to put the country at the forefront of medical innovation while creating jobs. Tanya Neft has the story.
In Atlantis, just outside of Cape Town, this 12 hectares of vacant land will soon be transformed into a cutting-edge facility to grow cannabis for medical use, similar to its sister plant in Lesotho. It's the result of a partnership between the City of Cape Town and Canopy Growth Corporation. Not only will it contribute to South Africa's medical advancement, but it will also grow the local economy.
So we've seen some massive benefits for countries and cities where they've invested in this venture. And so it's a massive investment in Atlantis, and it will create more than 250 job opportunities.
The company's Africa unit says it's excited about this multi-million rand venture, and building is already underway.
We would like our facility to be the hub for the rollout of medical cannabis in Africa.
So what exactly will the facility produce?
The bulk of the products will be gel capsules, oils and creams. And we have to appreciate that when you look at medical cannabis, this is not a panacea or a cure for conditions. This is a way to improve people's quality of life.
The first batch of pharmaceuticals will roll off the production belt this time next year. Tanya Neft, Cape Town.
Still ahead on eNews, Sudan's peace process in shreds with the killing of over 35 people this week.
And in your business news, the dire state of the country's economy has rattled the rand and shocked investors who just weren't expecting GDP to be so low.
Let's talk money now with Rafiwa Madzena, or should I say rather, good evening, the lack of it. I mean, those GDP figures for the first 3 months of this year, absolutely shocking.
Very shocking indeed, Sally, and you weren't the only one that was shocked. We had economists globally who watch our economy very closely shocked as well. They were only expecting a 1.7 decline, and then we were hit by that 3.2% decline. So not only did we not grow, but we reversed all the growth we saw in the last quarter of 2018. But my colleague John Bailey did put together a story, and he highlights some of those key sectors that contributed to that decline.
It's some of the worst economic news in a decade. The poorest performer is the agriculture sector, which is down just over 13%. Mining dropped by close on 11%. Manufacturing is down by 8.8%. Electricity shrunk by nearly 7%, while transport fell by 4.4%. and construction by just over 2%. Rolling blackouts is a major culprit in the poor economic performance.
If you look at electricity, for example, in the area of utilities, we have seen decreases in the supply of electricity as well as in water.
Analysts and the South African Reserve Bank had predicted the decrease, and economists identified depressed investment and expenditure in the economy, weak consumer demand and the continued decline in mining production. But the drop of 3.2% still came as a shock. The economic drop has wiped 56 billion rand off South Africa's nominal GDP, putting it at 1.2 trillion rand at the end of March. The Reserve Bank might now be prompted to cut interest rates, possibly at its meeting next month. John Bailey, Pretoria.
The power supply issue is really hitting home now, isn't it?
It really is, and it's become a ratings risk as well. We might see Moody's take us from investment grade to junk status, just as the other ratings agencies have done.
And I hate to ask this question because I know it's more bad news, but fuel is going up at midnight. What's it, 9 cents a litre for petrol, diesel up by 33 cents.
Exactly, and paraffin up by 8 cents a litre. And what the Energy Department has highlighted here, Sally, is that it's all due to that oil price that has continued to rise over the past month. A little lower than it did in the previous month, but it does continue to rise steady. Another big reason is that carbon tax levy that came into effect, really just setting the price on a really, really bad path. And now we're seeing that weaker rand, Sally. So I don't think it's going to be any good news coming around anytime soon, just based on the different developments rather that we've been seeing.
Well, with that, I bet you best take me through the markets, though I shudder.
Well, it was an interesting trading trading day today, Sally. So we saw that miners and other companies with predominantly offshore earnings helped the JSE because the rand was so weak. So it helped keep the JSE more than 1/3% in the positive. If we take a look at your commodities, the gold price is still very strong mode. This despite staying flat in today's trading session. And the oil price is still hovering around that $61 a barrel mark, not where it was a month ago, hence the petrol price hike at midnight. And if we take a quick look at your local unit, the rand was hit from all sides today, Sally. So it was over 2% lower against the dollar. First, it was those disastrous GDP numbers that we've just spoken about. And then the ANC adding fuel to the fire by announcing that after its NEC meeting that it's going to expand the Reserve Bank's mandate.
Absolutely. Rafiwa, thank you very much for all that bad news. We'll chat again to you tomorrow. Let's take a look at news from further afield now. And the peace process in Sudan appears to be in tatters. The ruling military council has cancelled all previous agreements with the main opposition coalition, calling for snap elections. Talks with the opposition alliance have stalled after violent protests that left at least 35 people dead. Now, this is the worst violence since President Omar al-Bashir was overthrown in April. Today marked the second day of US President Donald Trump's state visit to the United Kingdom. Prime Minister Theresa May co-hosted a breakfast for Trump at St James Palace. But on the streets of London and further afield, there was no welcome party. Thousands protested against the US president's visit. A giant inflatable blimp depicting Trump as a snarling baby wearing a diaper even flew outside the British Parliament. Still ahead, we'll go to Joel at our weather centre, get an update on those storms happening in Cape Town. And then, did Donald Trump fist bump the Queen? Surely not. That's the big question that's got social media buzzing. We'll find out later. Let's get all your latest weather news with Joel Guy in Cape Town. Evening to you, Joel. Has the worst of that storm hit the mother city as yet?
Not really, Sally. We actually have not one but two cold fronts that are going to be sweeping across the Western Cape tonight. And the storms are going to, we're going to see isolated to scattered rain and thunder showers over the western areas. But as we head into Wednesday, those showers are going to dissipate for a moment. And this cold front will continue to affect the weather over the western areas, giving us light rain and drizzle in the morning for the western areas of the Northern Cape and maybe around the Cape Peninsula. It will be cold once again for much of the interior. Then in the afternoon, another cold front is going to introduce more rain over the southwestern areas, and a cooler day is forecast for the western parts of the country. In the meantime, we stay with mostly sunny skies for the eastern sections, where warm to hot afternoon temperatures are forecast across Limpopo, Mpumalanga, and much of KwaZulu-Natal. In the evening, the rain should spread into the southwestern areas of the Eastern Cape. Now, let's take it closer to your part of the country. We start with the Northern Cape, where we are going to start off the day with mostly cloudy skies and light rain over the western areas, where a chilly afternoon is expected. Look at Sutherland peaking at just 9 degrees. It will be mild for the northeastern areas of the Northern Cape. Then in the Western Cape, we should see mostly cloudy skies with isolated rain showers. It will be cold as well for the province. Cape Town, Worcester and Langaban all peaking at just around 16 degrees. On the other hand, we're expecting a dry one across the Eastern Cape. It will be partly cloudy and cool to mild for the southwestern sections, but warmer over the northeast, where mostly sunny skies are expected. Cloud-free skies are forecast once again for much of KwaZulu-Natal, where highs in the upper 20s and lower 30s are expected. Another sun one is also forecast for Mpumalanga. It will be warm for the Highveld, but rather chilly in the morning. We are expecting clear skies as well for the Limpopo province, where we are also going to see highs lying mostly in the upper 20s and lower 30s. Sunny skies are also forecast for the northwest. It will be pretty warm for Rustenburg, peaking at around 28 degrees. The Free State will once again start off on a chilly note. It will be mild in the afternoon with cloud-free skies in most areas. A sunny one is also forecast for Gauteng, where pleasantly warm afternoon temperatures are forecast for your Wednesday. Now here's looking ahead to your Thursday. We are going to stay with a bit of rain for Cape Town, George and Port Elizabeth. It will be mostly cloudy with rain showers in KwaZulu-Natal, mostly sunny and warm for the northeast. Then on Friday, we should see lots of sunshine for much of the country, but it will be partly cloudy in KwaZulu-Natal with a chance of light rain around Richards Bay. That's all from me for now, Sally. Back to you.
Thank you very much. Joel Guy there in Cape Town. And finally, there's plenty of buzz around the so-called Trump bump. US President Donald Trump met with Britain's Queen Elizabeth yesterday. Now, he appeared to give the Queen a fist bump at Buckingham Palace. Now, it's not the first time things got a little awkward. Here's Michael Murillo.
Ladies and gentlemen, I invite you all to rise and drink a toast to President and Mrs. Trump. Continued friendship.
When you're the toast of the town, it's easy to get comfortable. Sometimes a little too comfortable. Social media is going wild over this photo. At first glance, the president gives the Queen a fist bump. It turns out there was no Trump bump. Video footage shows him shaking hands with Her Majesty. But it's not the first time his hands are making headlines.
I've always had people say, Donald, you have the most beautiful hands. Look at those hands. Those hands can hit a golf ball 285 yards.
Of course, when you have one of these, you can visit your friends wherever they are. And you can call their country whatever you like.
People call it Britain, they call it Great Britain, they used to call it England, different parts. But the UK, great respect.
The British are famous for keeping a stiff upper lip. But after this visit, it may be time for a stiff drink. Michael Murillo, Johannesburg.
Yes, indeed. Before we go, let's recap your top stories this evening. A severe flood warning has been issued for Cape Town with a huge storm approaching the mother city this evening.
We've decided to increase the threshold from 350,000 Rand to an annual earnings of 500,000 Rand.
Taxpayers who earn less than 500,000 Rand a year no longer have to submit tax returns. And the City of Cape Town approves the release of vacant land for medical cannabis production. From me and the team, it's a very good night.